All
Hello,
right.
everybody in Facebook Live Land. We are the Podguyz Podcast, bringing it to you live as we do every Monday, 10:15 Eastern Standard Time. I am Tony Kaz, followed by
Kevin Neary here.
Of course, we have a succulent, delicious third square for today. Yes, I said succulent and delicious. It is the beautiful monette, bebow reinhard.
Bebow
Well,
Reinhard.
it's actually bebow.
Is it bebow?
Pronounce it
Bebow
with the B.
Reinhard.
The B on the B, bebow. Bebow.
Bebow.
Yeah, bebow right here.
The bebow. Thank you very much for joining our show, by the way.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm having a good time so far.
Excellent.
Chatting backstage on politics and all that shit,
It is what it is. Kevin likes to spew out the political filth.
Oh, I love it.
Sometimes I like to gauge how serious the guest is by saying something like, so what did Harvey Weinstein do wrong, really? Just to see how serious they are. Exactly. But
you want me to tell
how dare you?
I could tell you my story about being in a drama. What do you call that? Couch? Yeah. No.
Well, let's hear.
I'm glad they nailed him. I've had stories.
Share on, Monette,
I've had
please.
stories. I was a drama student. I was an actress. I've been an actress all my life. I went to an acting degree in Green Bay, Wisconsin. You know where that is?
I do.
We've heard it once in a
You've
while.
heard of Green Bay? Okay.
I have a football team up there, right?
They had a drama class there, a drama program there,
Ooh.
being run by the fabulous Paul Mann, who supposedly taught Sidney Poitier how to act as if Sidney needed it. So we go to class, first day, he has us laying on the floor and he's telling us to take our clothes off. Because, you have to, we're on the beach and it's getting hot and we got to start taking our clothes off. When I went to his office for my entrance interview, he said, let me see how high you can lift your skirt. I go, what?
This sounds a lot like the casting couch.
He said, I want to see how high you lift your skirt because you have to get rid of your inhibitions before you go to Hollywood. I'm going, oh, okay.
I guess I'm out.
I didn't go all the way up. I want you to know right now.
There you go.
As girls in class, we started wearing leotards under our clothes because it just got crazy,
The smart move.
At one point, he made me walk into somebody's scene that they were doing. He says, I want you to walk in there, take all your clothes off, get in their bed and just, throw them off.
See, this is the problem when you hire ex-porn directors to do high school plays anymore.
This was college. This was college.
College, never mind college, Tony. At least they use their judgment idea, because it sounds like this guy's background was in pornography first. He's like, all right, guys, first of all, girls, no cocaine.
He had credentials. He taught Sidney Poitier.
I like how they used to tell Sidney, they were just like, hey, could you act whiter? And that was their motivation.
Anyway, the long story short, I flunked my final because I couldn't go to his office at 7:30 in the morning by myself. He still gave me a B. I dropped out of the program. He went to New York a couple years later. They just said, Mr. Mann, maybe you should leave. We didn't really complain about him, but everybody was starting to get upset. He went to New York, did the same thing there, was prosecuted and sent to jail.
Good for him. Good for him.
We didn't send him
What
to
a
jail.
scumbag.
Do you think that he still keeps his same directing techniques in jail? But with
I'm wondering if he still kept the same name. He's like, hey, Mr. Man, you get over here.
I remember reading that he only served a little while and came out and he started trying to do his own theater in New York and nobody would show up. Who did I read that?
Was it all nude or?
I don't remember I wrote, but he died, eventually. Anyway, that ended my going to Hollywood. So,
well, you are a well-known author. So
I don't know about well-known.
Well, we know you.
I'm an author.
You're an author.
I'm well known for being a Bonanza author. I have 2 Bonanza novels that are authorized by the creator and producer of the series, David Dortort. And now I've signed a contract with Roman and Littlefield, which is a decent publisher, first time in my life, for a book called, a nonfiction called Virginia City versus Bonanza, A Tale of Merging Histories. where I look at Virginia City history and I see where Bonanza got it right, which is actually very fun to do. I've been a Bonanza fan since I was 6 years old, so it just kind of makes sense. I do all this.
For those
But
of you who do not know what Bonanza is.
Oh no, everybody knows a Bonanza. Oh my God.
Not everybody knows what Bonanza is.
Oh, you tell me what Bonanza is.
Bonanza was a hit country show. Wasn't it a movie first, though?
No.
Was it a country? I know it was a country television show.
Country?
I swear they made it out of a movie.
What do you mean by country?
What,
I think he means cowboys and
Cowboy.
all that nice stuff. So I think he means
Western.
Spaghetti
Not
Western.
country Western. You're thinking
Country
country Western is
Western.
just Western. Okay, but it was historical because when it first aired, and I was 6 years old, remember? When it
Little
first
House on the Prairie was historical.
Oh, House on the Prairie. Anyway,
Big House on the Mountain was better.
no, Bonanza had this episode with Mark Twain, and I found out that was real. Mark Twain really was in Virginia City.
I heard it was really Samuel Clemens that they had on there, not Mark Twain.
It was Samuel Clemens.
I know. This is just a joke. I know.
Mark Twain.
Totally a joke.
It was
Very much a joke.
No.
All of it was a joke. I
It's
swear.
true. No, it's true. Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens became Mark Twain in Virginia City. True.
I like Google's description of you here. I think they did you right. Maybe you wrote it yourself. I'm not sure. Maybe ChatGPT wrote it, but it says when explaining about the author of the movie of the book that says Saving Boone, it says ever since the iconic movie Dances with Wolves, bebow Reinhard has been researching Native American Indian cultures. Her grandfather's great uncle Henry Bertrand, yep, was in the army from 1862 through 1884, and he said, "We didn't try hard to catch the Indians. We could see they were good people." Bebow Reinhard earned her master's in 2006 and has a saying, "The one thing historians need more of is time." That's a cool saying right there. She is compiling a master's database of all pre-contact copper artifacts found in the Americas. Can you tell us about that?
Oh God, that thing's killing me. That's killing me. Honest to God, I wish I would not.
Instant death.
I should not have started it. I'm serious. It's insane. People told me it was insane. I did it anyway. I started in 2010 to compile a master database of all copper artifacts found in the Americas because I thought people weren't paying attention to copper artifact industry. I worked for 3 years at a copper artifact museum. That's when I took that into my real world.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But copper in general has been used for thousands of years, dating all the way back to the Egyptians.
Further than that, Tony, because they've been tooling around the Great Lakes with copper since like 8,000 BCE. Now we're talking 10,000 years ago, way before the Egyptians. We think that the copper tooling in this country is older than anything in the old world.
Yeah, and copper, and now we use copper still today as a metal as prior ancestors in theory. Now it's all just theory. In theory, we think that ancestors used copper in the same way we use it today for communication reasons, as we are using them in phones, wiring, all that nice stuff. That's why in Utah, when they're finding traces of copper, but it's not coming in blocks. It looks like it's in strings of wires throughout the mountains there. So it's just very interesting stuff. It's
yeah, they wouldn't have a clue what you're talking about there. They use copper for spear points. They used it to trade for other resources in other places like obsidian, flint, any kind of other thing. But Wisconsin, where I'm from, is the state that has more copper artifacts than any other, and it's And it's because they made a lot of the copper artifacts here. And we're talking, all of this is pre-European, pre-contact, I mean, you can't tell much about these people unless you see what they made. That's how we know.
That's a big number right there, Monette. You got 66,000 compiled so far.
No, that's old. That's over 90 now.
Over 90 now. Oh my
90,000. And I can't count it anymore because I'm compiling books now. And because I'm compiling books, I've stopped counting how many, but I know it's over 90,000.
Well, you guys must have a very low crime rate because people like to just take copper out of pipings over here in Pennsylvania.
It's really sad because a lot of the villages and burial mounds and everything were raided and robbed and stolen from, and so we don't know where that stuff went. So a lot of it won't be found. So
yeah, that's
Well,
my big thing is to try and get the tribes to appreciate that I'm doing this for them, and that's been kind of a bit of a struggle, because they don't like us messing with their burials and their artifacts. I don't like messing burials either, but with anything to do with them, they don't like us messing with it. So I'm just trying to demonstrate that I want to track the trade network throughout the Americas and show how big these civilizations were.
Oh yeah, no, they were very big.
Oh,
yeah, they were.
And all the things that I've been able to expose that people thought were wrong. I mean, it's just been very rewarding, but it's really hard.
Well, such as?
I'm on my 4th book, and it's on Arizona.
I mean, you don't want to give away the whole farm, but
no.
Such as, let's take 2 instances.
Okay.
What are 2 instances
There you go.
that they?
I'm sorry. You're
Yeah.
asking me for 2 instances of what I've been able to demonstrate. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. Well, there was this guy, Bob, and I'm not going to give his last name, but he kept saying things like, well, after the Hopewells were a great toolers in copper, after they kind of dispersed and disappeared and collapsed, nobody tooled in copper until the Mississippians, like 300 years later. And I'm going, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. And I'm showing him my database of all the different copper artifacts that came about between those 2 periods, and that the Hopewells are actually a transition to the Mississippians. There was no break, there was no gap there. And he shut up about it now. He's not talking about that anymore. Another thing is what I'm trying to do now is demonstrate that the farming that was in the Southwest came up into Cahokia in Illinois during the dry period in the Southwest. And the connections there are starting to emerge in this book that I'm working on now.
So I have to ask, and I'm sure it's on the minds of our watchers, Kevin, myself, what is the weirdest artifact that you have seen that has transcended time, that you were so surprised by its actual making many, many thousands of years ago?
There's so many things that surprise me. I'm not sure I can point to one, but what I found up in Michigan looked like it came from Mexico. It's a pendant that has the design that has been credited to Teotihuacan in Mexico. Now, I surmise that these were traders who wore a pendant, who wanted to come up and get copper and had to prove that they had the right to get the copper. Now, Teotihuacan collapsed in 700 CE, around the time of the Hopewells supposedly collapsed. They would have had copper by then in West Mexico, but if they were up there in 300 CE, then they wouldn't have had that copper source yet, so they would have come up there. So it's phenomenal things like that. There's also this thing in Illinois that drives me crazy, because they can't prove they found it in Illinois, but if they could, it shows a direct connection to Mexico as well.
Huh.
The problem is they don't want to show a connection to Mexico for reasons we talked about
Well, speaking of reasons we talked about, we got a book right here from you, and we're gonna change it up a little bit here. All right, there, everybody's fine with it. I like this. I like this book. It's and you can find it on Amazon for anybody out there listening right now. It says it's titled "From Lincoln to Trump."
Oh, I love that book. That's the one I'm taking with me to Boston tomorrow.
Jam-packed with the political evolution of those issues that still matter to us today. Second edition includes notations on all the presidents, starting with Washington, to show the changes in the parties. Now, there used to be, before any, there was the Federalist, the non-federal, anti-federalist? You had the Whig Party going on. You had Progressive Party. Teddy Roosevelt was a progressive. Technically, he ran under that ticket. I know a plethora amount of these situations. There were people that were even against the Constitution before it was ratified under George Washington. The biggest myth, I can't stand this one, is when people say George Washington never wanted to run for president. The fuck he didn't. Why the hell did he campaign then and have buttons and all sorts of crap going on? Oh, he was so modest, he just put his name in the hat. Get the fuck going. Are you out of your minds? We had 13 presidents before him, all 1 year a crack from all 13 colonies.
I just read about that myself. I was surprised about that myself. I'm reading a book called 1968, Making of a President, and it talks about 15 people being president before Washington. I heard he was coerced. I don't think he ran for it. Nobody ran for president when they were campaigning until I don't know.
The way they used to do it was when whoever came in second during the presidential election, that was the vice president.
That was the vice president. I know.
I don't think they should have got rid of that. They should have kept that idea. That unifies people, because then you're like, well, at least my guy's somewhere in there, a girl somewhere in there, somebody's in there. That way you're somewhat represented.
I have argued that we should do that again because I like it. But that Jefferson didn't like what Washington was doing and formed his own party. Actually, there was a populist movement at the time, and Jefferson became the name attached to that popular movement. And they became the Democratic Republicans.
They went up. Yes, they did. Yeah. Okay. So there's a fun fact about Thomas Jefferson. He was very famous to use the $2 bills. That's why he's on the $2 bill right now. He used to go to whorehouses with the $2 bills, $1 for the day and $1 for the tip of the prostitutes. He used to do this with Benjamin Franklin because he knew all the best prostitutes. On the back of your $2 bill, you'll still find today a plate that was designed by French artists and made sure to be slightly tampered with. You have a $2 bill?
I do.
Okay, you're going to want to look on the back of your $2 bill right there.
I do. I want to. It got me all curious about this. I was just given it as a tip the other day, and I'm going, oh, it's a $2 bill.
Wait, am I gonna have to pull one out of my
Look at that. Jefferson is on the front. You're
gonna want to turn to the back right there. And on the back, you will see a man sitting right in the middle of the men in the back there.
Yeah.
Yep. And that is John Hanson.
Yeah.
John Hanson's fate. John Hanson was hated by Benjamin Franklin so much to the point where he. Too. Yep. So. Tony's got a $2 bill. We all have our $2 bills out for those of you that aren't visually watching right now.
I know, but I don't see which one is John Hanson. Who is that?
You're going to want to get away from the main characters right there. Go to the background characters right there. And you're going to find the guy right in the middle there. He's got a black face on him. What happened was Benjamin Franklin intentionally inverted that part of the plate because he did not like John Hanson and he black-faced him on the bill.
He did.
No joke. That actually happened. John Hanson was the first governor, and John Hanson was the first president of the Continental Congress.
That is so funny. Oh, my God.
Even funnier was when Obama was running and Republicans tried to dismiss that he was not the first president of color. They said, oh, no, John Hanson was, and they used that as the example. And that is not even close to being true. But it was to just, tamper down with the feelings of everybody of some kind of historical significance, because they figured the dude that they had in there from Panama, John McCain, born in Panama under U.S. territory. So if we're talking birth certificates, well, Panama doesn't vote, and Panama's not technically a state in America. So,
no. Although maybe at the time we were in control of it, but it was never an annex like Puerto Rico or anything,
Yeah, just like there's like from Lincoln, even they count him as a successful president for some odd reason, even though slavery at that time was on its way out because slaves were at too high of a price. Jefferson Davis knew this, and the point where he made something called Confederate notes. Have you heard of Confederate notes? Have you heard of? Okay, so you got Confederate notes, then you had Confederate
popular in the South.
Confederate school notes were given out to different plantation owners and stuff, and it was to be given to their slaves that they figured were young enough to still learn how to read and to be integrated into society.
Wait, I have one of those too.
Unfortunately, at that time, I'm sorry, you have one of them too, Tony.
That's a major issue that we need to stress, is that the South was freeing the slaves as they became educated, and nobody wants to talk about
Nobody wants to talk about that. Absolutely.
So much of this country's division would be healed if we would just give them objective history. Don't make the South bad. Don't make the North good. Let's give them objective history. And I do that. Yeah. I do that in Civil War and Bloody Peace. I do that. And from Lincoln to Trump, I give them objective. I give them just what happened. I don't say no. These
and that's what do you have it on here for paperback at $7.48, and even easier for $3.99. You can get From Lincoln to Trump. This is the most recent book that I could find on the very, just hit the.
I'm working on third edition because I'm waiting until Trump is no longer a household word, so that I can put his downfall in there at the end. Come on. No, really, that's what I'm waiting for. And third edition will be out there Zoom, just like
because
that.
of social media, that'll never happen, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, well,
he's got to. I'm sorry, he's got to be held accountable.
Monette, you still have Richard Nixon as like a household name to a degree.
He should not be allowed to run again because of not accepting the last election. I'm sorry, that's just to me.
Well, regardless, we're not here to debate.
Oh, I know, but that's what my book is going to be. And it actually follows from Lincoln to Trump, and showing you that we didn't come so far from Lincoln to Trump as we think. Because Lincoln was pro-business. Lincoln was pro-business from the get-go.
I want to get into something a little bit retro. Just for 1 second. Okay. There's an interesting article created by the Cambridge University Press that came out with the story called "The Mexican Connection and the Far West of the U.S. Southeast." Now, it's a fantastic article. It was done in, I believe, I want to say 2008, but it talks about the New World and archaeologists and what they've done prehistorically about cultural interactions between the southeastern United States and Mesoamerica. Going back and forth. And how nobody wanted that to be a thing.
And you've got the one site where those connections must have been made, and it's called Spiro, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Spiro, Oklahoma can go both ways. And I don't know when I'll get to work on Oklahoma, but that's where you're going to find that link.
You hear that, Oklahoma? You go both ways.
Yes. Oklahoma was the place for the Indian Territory, and there was a reason for that, right? But yeah. Because I have found demonstrations of like chocolate from Chaco America in Cahokia. There is demonstrations of chocolate that they had in there over there.
The baking process of cocoa and
they came from
Mexico.
It's the cocoa from Mexico.
Yeah.
And scales of copper, specifically called scales of copper, were found in Cahokia in 2 different locations, and also in Arkansas on the Red River, which leads into New Mexico. Okay.
The newer Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
What a lame name for a state right there. Like, come on, man. You can't do anything else. You could have, I would have been about it. You call that East Arizona, like that's cool. You got a West Virginia. You call that East Arizona, we're fine. We've matched stupidity, but just to be like, that's confusing immigrants too that are just they're passing through. They're like, oh, look at that. Hey, we're in the new version, honey.
there are people who still think it belongs to Mexico. I know
that's because it says New Mexico. Of course, it's confusing as
all. Not all.
Don't pick on my state. I love that state. That state is gorgeous.
Yeah, then
I guess my question is,
they need a better name.
And I like the fact that it's called New Mexico because it makes us link to Mexico. And a lot of this land was Mexican. And I just think it's just shame what we're doing to Mexico.
Give it back.
No, but
back.
Why don't we should absorb Mexico.
I like that idea too. Just buy it up. $80.
Just do it. $10 and a chimichurri.
And I don't know, Tony. It's I'll keep the.
But anyway, the best part of From Lincoln to Trump is not Lincoln or Trump. It's the 60s that I have in there.
There's a lot of profound stuff going on in the 60s.
The 60s, and I was just a kid, but it's devastating what happened to the boomers. We lost our last hope in 68, and people say, well, what's wrong with you boomers? Well, what happened to us in 68. So I really think that if we can't get at the truth of that, we're a worse country for it. But I covered that a lot in From Lincoln to Trump, and I think
that's right. From Lincoln to Trump, you can find it on.
She's a conspiracist. No. QAnon goes off the wall.
Monette, are you a conspiracy theorist?
No, I believe that
you're a realist.
That the KKK killed Kennedy, King, and Kennedy.
Yeah, that would that explains a lot too. They had enough feet on the ground there in Texas. They had enough that I've never heard that theory before.
No,
we've heard we've had the Arlen Specter magic bullet theory before, where the guy tells an enthusiastic tale about a bullet, call him magic, and how it passes through basically everybody, then quickly time travels and makes another noise, because why not, right? And
that was the man on the grassy knoll.
Yeah, well, you're talking.
But don't forget about Robert Kennedy. He was killed from behind, but Sirhan was in the front. I mean, what is that? Nobody.
RFK Jr. right now is running for president.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's got a lot of okay points to make, but he's about as easy to listen to as two cats fucking, because of that voice thing going on.
That thing going on.
He's like,
I know, he's very gravelly. Yeah.
The reaction shots are just amazing anymore, because we have three people that, normally whenever they're giving a speech, you need to do a crowd reaction shot. Now with RFK, the reaction kind of looks like terror onto the next sentence, where you're like, is he done yet? And then when you got Donald Trump speaking, it doesn't matter if he's making sense. They always pan up to a little old lady, and she's like, and she's always overweight. It's just one of those things. Or blonde, yeah. And then then with the Joe Biden speeches, they pan over to like either a black guy with glasses or like, just a normal looking white woman, where they're just like, they're kind of like, okay, grandpa, we can go home now. We don't have to keep talking here. But, the pan overs have been pretty comical, and listen, in reality, to manipulate people's emotions in big groups while also not feeding them any actual educated information in school structures that were set up by the same people to make sure that everyone is herded into the same classroom. There's a reason that school is kind of set up like a factory job. You go in there early, you take your lunch a little bit later on, and then you leave depressed, not really feeling like you learned anything. But
I've got a theory about that. The problem with the public schools is because they were set up to be schools to teach you to be a good citizen.
Yeah,
Back
absolutely.
in the 1800s.
100%.
And that's that the patriotism that they teach you is the lies and the we did everything good and they did everything. We've got good people, we've got bad people. The Indians were the bad people, we were the good people. You know, that's the way it was.
I think they should teach Black History Month in September and have it in September instead of February, because right off the bat, they're teaching kids.
I am a member of American Historical Association. I've been yelling at them today. Why don't we have objective history taught in all our schools across the board, all the states? Everybody has to teach the same history.
I mean, the truth of our corrupt
And they always
unadulterated political empire. The truth
I'm
of it.
talking objective. I'm talking that Democrats and Republicans are both bad and they're both good, and that's it across the board. I mean, I'm sorry. That's what I try to do from Lincoln to Trump. I mean, it's just, you don't take sides when you're a historian. You can't. You shouldn't.
You just tell tell the exact events on how and why they occurred.
Yes, the how and why is so important, and that gets glossed over so often. I proved why Custer died of a little bighorn, and nobody else can figure it out. There's mysteries. There's no mystery. There's no mystery. Grant forced that defeat.
Yeah, Ulysses.
Because the Indians would not fight. And if they didn't fight, he couldn't take the Black Hills because the Treaty of Fort Laramie has that stipulation.
Yeah, he had to solicit a reaction. Correct. Yeah.
He had to get them to fight, and that's how he got the Black Hills. And
that's just been America's MO for the longest time. We have to solicit a reaction, and then when a reaction happens to us, oh my God, look what they did! Look at that! We're like what America's turned into after so much amount of time there, Tony. We've turned into that crazy girlfriend.
Yeah.
That starts punching herself in the face, and you're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" She's like, "I'm gonna tell everyone
what's our most historical figure that we bring up at least once a month to tell about the history of the United States?
O.J. Simpson.
Oh, well, besides him, Christopher Columbus. And we talk about Christopher Columbus and how much of a not even a scumbag is the word.
He was a scumbag. He Latinized his last name because it was Christopher Colombo. Then he Latinized it as a lot of discoverers.
Cristobal.
Yeah.
I did. This is the true story. I did a campaign in Green Bay, Wisconsin, to change the name of Columbus Day to Indigenous Day. This is a true story. I got in the newspaper. It went out on the wire. Jay Leno talked about it. And awesome. I got a call from the Daily Show asking me to appear to talk about this. And I knew the Daily Show, and I said, well, who is going to be the one that's, against the idea? I don't want to come on if you're just going to make fun of it. They never called me back.
Well, even better, you're on the Podguyz Podcast, which
I blew my big chance.
This is the big chance. I agree.
Make fun of it. I
but
know.
To be honest, it wasn't even Christopher Columbus, Columbobo, whatever you want to call him. It wasn't even him.
Cristobal Colombo.
It wasn't even him or he that actually found America.
No, he found the Bahamas.
He found the Bahamas.
He started enslaving the natives, and that's what the problem is, so that everybody
raping, pillaging, and enslaving.
Right. And then he ends back in Spain after 3 trips. He ends up back in Spain and dies in poverty.
Yes.
Because he couldn't prove the world was round, and that's why we have a flat Earth society today. But anyway, no, he was. I wouldn't say evil. I would say he was misguided. They approached this land they'd never seen before. They met people they'd never seen before, and they recognized an opportunity. But that doesn't mean he deserves a day. That doesn't mean he deserves to be honored. There's nothing about him that deserves that honor. And we're still fighting Columbus Day. Look at this. Here's my October thing. Columbus Day is on the 9th of October. Oh, it sucks. I should not know that. But
Yeah, but well, it's kind of weird where he came up to Ferdinand and Isabel and he was just like, guys, I need some money to do some terrible things. And they're like,
Horrible.
what kind of terrible things? And he's like, listen, I'm gonna
Not gonna tell you.
I'm gonna be bringing some people over there, and once the Spanish heard about all the terrible things, they're like, we're gonna give you 2 more boats.
With 12 to follow.
They upped
Well, I
it.
mean,
And then
they still
wait,
believe.
what do I tell everybody I'm going to get? They say, just tell them salt and pepper. The fuck if we care.
They still believed they were going to find that route to the east for those spices. They still
Oh yeah. That's how
because that's what Lewis and Clark did,
Yeah.
was trying to find that. I mean, really.
Yeah,
I
I like
mean,
how
why
history
Columbus-
teachers are like undertoning that Lewis and Clark were secretly gay, where they're like, now 2 men to travel together back then,
They
kind
took
of different.
They took
Never took
Sacagawea
wives,
with
by
them.
the way, both of them.
They took
Never.
They took Sacagawea.
Now there's some huge implication, and not even implications, but have you watched the new National Treasure movie? Or series, I should say.
When was that out?
So there's a new National Treasure series that's appearing on Disney Plus, but it
Oh,
talks
I don't
about-
get Disney Plus. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So I'm going to give you a little rundown. It actually
Alright.
talks about Sacagawea
Okay.
and how she had learned little bits of English and writing, especially being a woman, and then doing this was all like major milestones for the different tribes and stuff that they had met while they were traveling.
Mhm.
And it talks a lot about the different treasures, especially for Mesopotamia, America, that were hidden across America, and just different stuff in general. So I mean, it was really cool. If you want to check it out, I mean, it's average.
It's kind of like one of those games where they play with their phone, where it has what do they call the geocaches?
Oh, geocaching, yeah.
Find the treasures along the way.
I think they should do a Disney live action of Pocahontas, only with realistic ages of what it actually was like. Creep the fuck everybody out.
Yeah, they could do a more real version. You're
Like,
right.
Wait a second, is she 12 and he's 45? Oh yeah, keep watching. It gets worse. You'll be screaming great balls of
actually-
fire by the time you're done with it.
That actually still happens in the world today, though, unfortunately.
It does. There's a baseball player out there, Alvarez. He ended up getting caught with a 14-year-old Dominican girl. Please. Yeah. And in response, the Tampa Bay Rays, this is just happening this week. In response, the Tampa Bay Rays had a hat giveaway to all kids that are under the age of 14.
Why?
Oh, to insult him, I'm guessing, directly. He also plays for the Tampa Bay Rays, and maybe they wanted to give his girlfriend a hat. I don't know why. I didn't really ask them. I didn't say like, hey, you're Tampa Bay Rays. Why?
I just heard
Kevin's
about a
letting
guy,
a strongly worded letter.
Strongly worded.
I think it was a guy in Iran who just married a 9-year-old, and he was 45.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty
It's
pretty
got-
tough. You know what I call? She's probably a gold digger.
Probably.
He's gonna die well before she does, and she's gonna inherit all that.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a good. And she'll do it
Yeah.
again too. Yeah.
She'll do it again.
Let's blame the woman. Why don't we?
That's what we'll do. We'll blame the
Thank you.
woman.
Thank you. I'm surrounded by men here.
10 years from now, Monette, 10 years from now, they would call her a gold digger, and they would call the 55-year-old guy a very nice fella. They'd be like, what up, bitch? But
Yeah.
minus 10 years, they're like, whoa, that guy's terrible.
I don't think we have to wait 10 years for that, to be honest with you.
No, of course not. It's all terrible. We have to say some prayers, of course, for Hawaii.
I think you men are just jealous of women. That's why you pick on us. That's all.
Oh no. There's nothing.
Wow.
No one could
You
no one
men are
could
just
say that I
jealous of
hate
us.
women. I love women.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You're jealous of us. Uh-huh.
I mean,
No,
I
no.
probably am a little bit.
Because we can go in the bedroom without you.
Oh, you could, yeah. Men love women so much they have recreated them into sex dolls.
Well, that's
So,
true. That's
that
true.
is true. That's why Alexa has a female voice. For men that are so lonely and can't do anything, they say, Alexa, help.
Kevin.
Alexa,
Kevin,
talk to me
what do we do
dirty.
better?
Alexa, give me some dirty talk. I wonder what she'd do if you said that to her.
Oh no, she does start talking dirty.
does.
And then she gives you a list of cleaning supplies that you can also
microchip,
find on Amazon.
Yeah. That would
Playing
be
Dirty Talk by Rihanna.
Kevin, what do we do better than anyone else when we do this show?
What? Well, I didn't catch the first part of the
What
question.
do we do better than anyone else when we do this show?
We
What do
segue.
we talk about? What do we talk about, Kevin?
Oh man, we talk about stupid criminals.
We do sometimes.
Yeah.
But
How about you just?
we try to touch lightly entertainment, sports, slight politics.
We weave it. Yeah, we weave it.
You know who they would never make a sex doll out of?
They would never make a sex doll out of Sparky. I'm pretty sure.
I'm thinking, what's her name? I can't remember her name now.
Lizzo. If you were
Lizzo.
thinking Lizzo.
My God. Well,
That Diane lady from California who should retire. No?
Diane Feinstein.
There you
Feinstein.
go.
Feinstein,
There we are.
Feinstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
No, you
really-
just take a no. You could make a Diane Feinstein sex doll. All you do is take a regular sex doll and put it too close to the light and watch the face start to melt and wrinkle around, and then then you got yourself a Feinstein right there.
Yeah.
Put a fucking wig on her, right, and make sure to
But is
dye it
it-
all. Make sure to dye it brown, but like really bad.
Is
Make
is it marketable?
It is. You could sell it as a Feinstein or a Nancy Pelosi. Doesn't matter. All you got to do is less cushioning for the one, a little bit more for the other one. They're practically the same bag of bones, anyways.
Oh,
True.
I want to know.
Nancy Pelosi looks like if Skeletor did drag. It's like He-Man. Like, okay, Nancy, we need you to be a congresswoman now. If you catch my drift,
He has the power. Shut up. Go back into your hovel.
Yeah, somebody hit my husband with a hammer. Okay. Well,
Why was he in his
I want to
underwear?
know.
Nobody
I
knows.
want to know. I got a question for you guys.
Mhm.
Have you seen Barbie?
I have not seen Barbie. No, I have not.
Hey, I haven't either.
I haven't. I don't know. When I like
Monette,
to,
you were very much about empowering women, and you still haven't seen Barbie.
That's a toy.
it is a toy, right?
It's a toy.
I would have as much enthusiasm to go see Barbie as I would have to go see a movie called Slinky.
I know.
just-
That's what I'm saying. That's what
Because Slinky, it's all downstairs from there.
it's all down. It's all downhill.
Downstairs
Yep.
and
Toy Story is fun because
Toy
they're not actually all real toys.
they're taking it from they're taking
Marketing
it.
Barbie with this movie, and I'm going, why? Why are people seeing this?
Now they want to see it. Their
They like
girls want to see it.
nostalgia.
Yeah.
I
It's,
don't know.
I bet they want to sell Barbie toys. I got that growing.
Yeah, I bet you they do.
Yeah.
Like they may be having a slump or something, and so they're putting Margot Robbie in a Barbie costume. I don't know.
Yeah, of all people to play Barbie as well. I mean, it just it's just weird. But Tony, where were we with the Lizzo story there, my man? Are you familiar with Lizzo or no, Monette? Lizzo. Monette, are you familiar with Lizzo at all or no?
No, what is Lizzo?
So Lizzo is a hip hop star, right? And she is now I've just learned about this woman last week myself, right? She is a very oh God, how can I put this? She's very empowering to people that are a larger size than 20 in dress size, So she doesn't like fat shaming or anything like that. And she hires dancers for herself that are also close to the same weight as she is, like 300 plus pounds. So I guess in Amsterdam, they had an incident happen where she took her dancers to a strip club, right? And forced a couple of them to eat bananas out of strippers' vaginas over there. And these are just some claims that were made by some dancers that also have video proof of the whole thing. So allegedly is the word we have to kind of use, just because if Lizzo does sue us, will make us famous, we'll do it, man. Just sue us already. And but yeah, she forcibly told her stripper or her dancers to eat bananas out of the vaginas of strippers in Amsterdam. Which, yeah, exactly. I see the look on your face. It's very pained. I know. I would exactly. So,
no,
anyways,
not only that, Kevin. Not only that, there is more information that has snuck out from the particular breeding ground of this social media endeavor.
what is going on there, Tony?
Now, she has also claimed that she was fat shaming these particular dancers as well.
I saw that. Yeah, that she was telling the dancers like, "Hey, you're fat," and now she's already fat. Monette, she's already like a big one to begin with. Very
Right,
big.
so she's calling a kettle black kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah. And if I was a big person, like, and somebody said, "Hey, you are fat. You got to lose some weight. You can't keep dancing like this because you're fat," I would just say, "I get it. Yeah, I agree. My ankles are sore. My knees are sore. I'm sweating. I'm in no shape to do this. I'm my weight right now, and I'm barely in any shape to do stuff." So
No, okay, but she doesn't do the dancing. She's just fat
no.
shaming the dancers for being her weight and dancing.
Yeah, so I mean, back in the 90s, we used to call that pulling a Kirstie Alley.
You're Kirsty, I
You're
know.
not wrong.
But yeah, this
This is a famous person, you're saying?
This
She's
is
a very famous singer, more
never-
recently within the past year or two
Yeah.
than any other.
she's a flash, and she's turning into a flash in the pan, and the pan was filled with bacon, eggs, a couple of shreds of lard and onions, and
sausage gravy.
it had some stuff in there. There was a crock pot too, but there was some flash.
Quite a few biscuits.
Right, but the main question is her music any good?
That's also up for debate. Is it pop fodder? Is it pop fodder? Yes.
I think
or
that anyone,
radio.
it's nothing unique. Like when you hear something unique and you're like, "Oh man, well, who sings that?" I don't really worry about what they look like. So they basically put her out there first on what she looks like. And, Beyonce became her friend, and she's like, "Hey, this is my friend because she's talented. And you should all love her because she's very talented." But then when you listen to her stuff, you're just like, this sounds generic, if not below average.
Average to mediocre at best.
Beyonce's endorsement pushes your star a little further, Monette. You know how that happens.
Suppose, but you're talking to someone who hasn't liked anything since Queen, so,
No, Monette,
Queen was so
if
popular
you're-
that they named the first planet after Freddie Mercury.
Monette, as if your book
kind of
was
like
being
knowing
pushed
he
by
was
Oprah.
coming, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They knew he
David.
was gonna come, so that,
They used to call planet number 1 until he came around.
yeah, it was, yeah,
Kidding.
that'd be right. I never heard that. That's pretty cool.
No, Monette, it's like your book is being pushed by Oprah. Okay, it's the same generalization.
Oh, I wish, yeah, what?
Yeah, so having the Queen, Beyonce, very much an Oprah type of person to push your product onto other people. So
Uh-huh.
she was pushed on by Beyonce, and she was pushed into the starlight, and
Right.
blah 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 blah. So
Yeah.
a lot of this got swept under the rug because of her rise to stardom. And a lot of accusations and a lot of slinging went back and forth. And of course, now all of these sexual harassment allegations are coming to a head.
Jealousy.
Could be.
Some people are
That's
claiming
often why somebody
jealousy.
would take somebody down is because
Allegations.
yeah, well, there you
If
go.
there's anything that you would never accuse Lizzo of doing, is committing a crime on others with a healthy food like bananas. Now,
Yeah.
saturated fat like chicken wings, pizza, bananas.
So this is all a rumor that you've been talking about with this.
Well, they have video evidence and all that.
Oh,
I mean,
they-
there's a lot of hard evidence to support
A lot of
Eating-
hard
eating the banana
allegations.
of the banana eating thing.
Oh
the
yeah.
banana eating thing. Yeah. So it says Made in America 2023 is the name of the tour featuring Lizzo and a person so famous they just need I guess, have been officially canceled due to severe circumstances outside of production control. The 2023 Made in America Festival will no longer be taking place. Read an official statement shared by the festival on Tuesday. This decision has been difficult and has not been made lightly, nor without immersed deliberation. As far as timing is concerned, the cancellation comes just a week after Liza was hit with a lawsuit by 3 of her former dancers who accused the artist of sexual harassment.
Now, who are also coming out of the woodwork. There's more than 3 that are slinging allegations. There's probably about 7 to 10 that are actually backing these particular allegations from years of dancing. She was then not only was her tour canceled, but she was also dropped from Super Bowl halftime show consideration as well, so that they don't want the bad publicity linked in with the Super Bowl halftime show.
True. But I'm of the belief that if you're going to make allegations, you better back it up. I'm still hurting over Al Franken myself. He was never taken to court. I think if you're going to make accusations, you better find a way to prove them, or to take a person to court and call it defamation, whatever you want to call it. But Al Franken is a big loss to the Democratic Party because of that.
I loved Al Franken's questions that he would ask about size of a prison. Just literally asking, how large is a prison? And then he got kind of frustrated, but in a quirky kind of way. He's just like, am I not saying this right? But yeah, I think Al Franken wanted to not only step away after a picture came out with him on, doing the whole posing or whatever.
He was a comedian.
He just stepped down.
I saw him in person in Madison, and he said he stepped down because he was so upset that the Democrats didn't support him.
Yeah, and they didn't really want him in there anyways, because the stuff that Al Franken was trying to get done. I mean, who's not to love that guy? Anti-war, because war is we're just going backwards in our own.
Yes, the Democrats may have been as afraid of him as the Republicans were.
You have Republicrats out there, we'll call them Democrats that act like Republicans, and then you have a libertarian version of Republicans, which are just like Republicans but in super drive of doing some crazy shit. And then you trail it back and you negotiate it and you mix it around and you're like, this kind of looks like Joe Biden. I don't know, it doesn't look right, and they're like, well, what can you do? It's like, well, let's put a wig on Obama. And there you go. Can we brand this out where they basically took a crazy old guy who says a lot of crazy shit, and they took that demographic away from Trump, and then they rebranded Obama, but made him female, and Kamala Harris, where they can get that demographic pull. And they're like, we're going to give it a shot because we don't really need much to win an election right now. Just put Mike Pence up there. Tell him how you talk to God, Mike. Go ahead. And, Donald, and he will. Mike Pence used to have the Mike Pence show on in Indiana. Did you ever listen to the Mike Pence show? No,
and I don't think I will.
You have to. It's so entertaining. He's like a much more livelier. He's like crazier than fucking Pat Robertson of the 700 Club. This guy's like the 1400 Club. I tell you what, man. And he carries his own show where he's just like, he's talking in there. He's like, I have Jesus in the studio with me right now. The Holy Spirit is there. And he's fucking going on. And I'm thinking to myself, man, who would be so stupid and crazy to not check up on this guy? Only the greatest guy to hire great people all the time. I knew it was going to turn into The Apprentice, where she's like, I'm sorry, Jeff Sessions, you're fired. Like, well, you can't fire this one.
But you know what he's doing? He's trying to go after the Trump demographic Christians.
They're trying to clip the Christian. They're trying to get the Bible Belt people up. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
they're going for the Bible Belt people. And then with Trump, they're just grabbing. Trump was the only person to say on stage, I don't know if it was out of strategy or just trying to put himself out to be there different, where he just said, no, I'm not. When it came to the healthcare question, he was the only one to say on stage, like, I'm not going to leave you with nothing. These guys want to leave you with nothing and blah, blah, blah. And then also, most Republicans don't like Bush. They didn't like Bush. And they said to themselves, finally, we got somebody up there that'll say George W. Bush is terrible. And the whole Bush family is terrible. And not that Donald Trump said that George W. Bush is a war criminal, but he is a war criminal. And Colin Powell shouldn't be like, oh, poor Colin Powell. Colin Powell, you were the only adult in the room. And what did you do? You showed everybody exactly who you were at the end of the day. A go along kind of guy. Oh, let's go.
I was very
exactly. And what did they turn Iraq into? All they turned Iraq into is a fucking mimicking version of Iran. That's why we have to blow the Saudis and help them genocide a whole different type of Muslim down in Mongolia area. And Jesus Christ, Yemen. The Yemen people are being bombed constantly, and we're giving them the weapons for free. That's how Obama smoothed it over, which is a scumbag way of doing it. Goldman Sachs proven to be giving him his goddamn cabinet right on target. They're like, here's who you're going to hire. He's like, no problem. I'm cool with it. And all we got out of Obama was Bob Dole's healthcare plan from 1992. That is a disgrace. They wanted to make sure all hands were washed except for the filthy ones that needed it the most.
In Obama's support, though, the Republicans kept watering it down. He had to pass whatever he could get passed.
They had a super majority. They didn't even need to invite the Republicans over there.
I'm sorry, I didn't like Obamacare.
It's just Bob Dole's. It's just the Affordable Health Care Plan Act is basically the post office compared to the UPS and FedEx. It should have been there.
I thought it was Hillary's plan.
That's what they could say. It was basic. Bob Dole, if you look at Bob Dole's healthcare plan when he ran against Clinton, and also when he was bringing it up when he was trying to run against Reagan and Bush back in the early 80s, it's the same healthcare plan. The fine is still there. That's why Senator Grassley backed it up, because he's like, this really looks familiar. Of course we could fine people for not having healthcare.
We're against it right from this get-go, and that's only because it was Obama. I mean, they wanted to stop anything Obama did.
Every Republican's going to be against any Democrat that wants to do anything. But the biggest problem was that the Democrats, while having a supermajority in the Senate and the Congress, they couldn't get together for a universal health care plan, because they all have money in pharmaceutical companies giving them goddamn money constantly anyways.
But Johnson passed Medicare because he was able to work both sides of the aisle. He was able to do that, and that's what we're missing today.
Johnson secured money, government money for pharmaceutical companies and for healthcare industries by saying, hey, we can force it into a 1.45% tax onto people, and you're all going to make a lot of money. You can increase your dividends. We can have richer people retire, and then it'll all come back to us, marching right back to the treasury in a form of a tax.
He was a good bullshitter too. Yeah.
He used to show everybody his dick and grab beagles by the ears and lift it up. And he was a hell of a guy. He was a
hell of a guy.
Yeah. He was such a great president. When they're like, "You gonna run again?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm good. I've done enough damage.
I don't want this again."
We'll leave you in another guy's hands. Here comes enter Richard Nixon, and then enter fucking Gerald Ford. And
I just got through that section in this book about why Johnson didn't run again, and it was pretty. I mean, he couldn't. There's just no way. Nobody liked him. He just couldn't run again.
He was unlikable. You're absolutely right. That's why he couldn't beat Kennedy in the primary. There was no way he could beat Kennedy. Everybody knew how to count. You're like, no.
McCarthy. He couldn't beat Eugene McCarthy.
That's true. Absolutely. How about after every time that there's like a gate involved, like whether it be Watergate,
every single one is Republican. Teapot Dome was Republican. Every scandal we've had in this country has been Republican.
I mean,
not the Monica Gate thing. That was.
Oh, I wasn't worried about the Monica Gate thing. I was more or less, the guy who wants to sign the bill for the North American Free Trade Agreement, which was basically,
Well, Bush started it, but Clinton signed it. Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, they both agreed on the Welfare Reform Act, which basically told big cities to not fix their poverty problem by actually having adjusted rents according to people's wages. They just said, dump your poor people in rural cities nearby. Bring them on, just, ship them in anywhere. And the people will sell their land, and we could develop their land from that point. And, all that nice crap that followed that idea. It didn't actually solve a problem. It just put people in areas where, guess what? There's also no jobs. It didn't really provide jobs. It just provided eventual crime to happen because people will try to survive eventually. And we have had more prisons built from that point of the Welfare Reform Act, which after came, bing, 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 the Drug Reform Act, where here you got Biden and Bernie and everybody, every scumbag and every crew just saying, let's throw everybody in jail for 30 plus years because fuck them. Not even treating disease as a drug addiction as a disease, but just piling them into prisons because that's how you create good paying jobs.
And then out of sight, out of mind, and then we don't have so much crime and blah blah blah.
I know. Yeah, ask Rudy Giuliani how he dropped rates of crime. Just frisk anybody that looks black.
How about the front runner for the presidency down in Florida?
Well, we got DeSantis isn't the front runner in his own party right now. Trump is actually beating him up right now as far as the polls go, but it's between Trump, DeSantis, and then like everyone else is like underpiling. And they're just, they're fundraising. They're fundraising the same way RFK Jr. is working as the new covert Bernie. They're fundraising and they're poll shopping too. Because if
we get Biden.
What's that?
We get Biden.
Biden, yeah. It might be Biden, it might be Trump. No one's to know yet.
I'm sorry, I'm torn about Biden. I think he's a great guy, but I just torn about him being that age, and he looks like losing it on TV half the time.
I think Joe Biden throughout time he's been called Go Along Joe. He doesn't really have his own real stance. He likes to read off of a thing. His wife passing away years ago and him suspiciously getting married afterwards really quick. Like a year. Like you're married to your wife for how long? And then bam, 1 year later you're remarried. Very suspicious in my opinion. I love Hunter Biden though. I love Hunter Biden. If I was Hunter Biden, I'd be doing some coke right now too, man.
That'd be the guy that I would party with.
Yo, you gotta, if you're arresting me, I am gonna scream, my dad's the president. You can't fucking arrest me. And then they'd be like, yo, sorry, dude. Back, I'd be freebasing crack in the fucking bathroom. I don't give a shit. My dad's the president.
Get out of jail free card.
Yeah, like
trouble.
If anything, Hunter Biden has been a lot more censored than anyone than I'd expect. It's the weird thing. It's the weird thing too. He ended up meeting his current wife, his brother's ex-wife, at his brother's funeral, which is kind of weird. Where it's like Joe's like, "Oh, we hooked them up because we figured, well, the wife already liked the one dick, so Hunter's probably the same, and it's an easy way to get them together." I like how Joe Biden starts off sentences real strong and then forgets where the fuck he is halfway through, because that's like pranking the world right there. Where he's like, "Listen, America, 407. Well, nobody cares what I'm saying." I think they don't. And that's what was I? Who am I?
I think the big
Where
thing
are you?
Monette actually
there you go. That's a guy I need right there.
Even when he was vice president and he got in trouble when he was vice president, he still used the same story. It was like, my dad's vice president.
Right. That's what I said.
Yeah. Just think he probably doubled his coke intake from that point. I'd triple that goddamn shit. I'd be like, yo, coke deal. We're gonna bust
maybe it has to do with his brother's death too. Sent him over the edge.
Well, cocaine is just a fun drug to do. You can ask any rock and roll star out there. They'll say, you know what, if I could have done more, if my dad was the president, I would have never stopped doing cocaine. Keith Richards says that it made him live longer. So I don't really have a problem with him. How can anybody just say like, oh, isn't it terrible Hunter Biden's on cocaine? No, I think it's terrible when somebody can't afford to be on cocaine, but really wants to be. That's a pretty bad time. Yeah, I wouldn't care if Donald Trump's kids did cocaine, which I'm pretty sure they already do. What is he? He was accused of being on Sudafed. Yeah, of course he was on Sudafed. Dude's drinking Diet Coke, eating KFC with a fork and knife. These fuckers, you know what they're going to do? This is all a sneak approach, Monette. They're all just doing this so that way they can say, it's not that these people are the best we have. They're not. The job doesn't pay enough. We need to pay more. You already know what's coming.
Well, I think they get paid enough myself. I think they get a lot of perks. But and then you've got the Supreme Court which is really, you got to get our people in there to get the Supreme Court nominations and things like that. I just
It's
wish
disheartening.
it is. I just wish Biden was a stronger candidate right now. That's all.
I didn't like the idea that there was.
I wish he was a stronger human being.
There was 14 other people on stage that could have probably been more lucid around the clock, more than Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I liked Tulsi Gabbard, love her.
He's 80 years old, and they say the presidency ages you, so he's probably more like 90 right now. So he's not doing bad for that age, really.
No, not at all. No.
To even see him finish this term, I think would be surprising.
I think the compliments I can.
It was at a point where he actually pooped his pants.
Yeah, you poop
when
sometimes.
he was with the
That's a rumor.
minister.
That's a rumor, Tony.
No,
No,
that
that's
actually
not
happened.
a rumor. It is true fact.
That did happen. It happened, and that happened the same way that George H.W. Bush also threw up on a Japanese guy. So we just we just send our leader over to Japan and wait for the spew to happen. Trump went over to Japan and he felt great because he says, "I already know I have the biggest penis here." Japanese, not known for big penises. That's all right though. I like my sushi cooked. Cook it well done. Well done sushi.
Bake it.
Where's the KFC?
Grind it.
Where's the McDonald's at?
I need the secret sauce.
You're really good. You're really good, Kevin.
Could you really fucking bring McDonald's in the White House? It's for the college kids. Kids love McDonald's. It's like, who the fuck sent Grandpa to the grocery store this time and he came back with McDonald's?
That's what I did in my my Mexican hero story with the two Mexicans, and then the woman becomes Mexico
They
president.
went to McDonald's?
I know. I had a Trump-like president in the U.S.
Oh.
building his wall between Mexico and the U.S. And we're going, okay, how are we going to build it through the Rio Grande again? How was that going to work? Kind of bringing that out.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to take the water out first,
No,
right?
we're taking
Because we don't
water
need
out.
that water,
Who
you know.
gets to have a Rio Grande? Do we have it? Does Mexico get to have it?
Just take
So I
the
have a lot
water.
of fun. It's
Take the water out. Just get rid of the water.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Well, 3/4 of the world is water. You take a small section out, you're not harming anybody except the fish. But then you can eat the fish. You can give the fish out to people, make fish tacos.
That's right.
They're
But
very
you
delicious.
never hear that. They never hear them talk about
What
that.
I like the idea, I think that the idea has a one flaw to it with the wall, right? You're so if you build a wall, what I want to see happen is little buildings in between of the wall
Yeah.
built in there to
Yeah.
help people with their immigration, because if they're headed up there anyways, then we can't trust the Mexican government to process paperwork correctly. So if they're headed up there anyways and they say, "Hey, I'm here, I want to be an American citizen," and blah 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 and all that,
Knock on the door of one of these.
knock on the door. We'll fill out the paperwork.
Right.
Hotels over there.
One at a
Hang
time,
out. We're gonna be able
One
to
at
get
a
this.
time, long line forming behind you.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you know what? You take every single one of those people and give them a job to build houses for the homeless. Homeless veterans first, and then second, just regular homeless, right? And they all get a job.
We need workers in this country.
There you go. We'll get the workers on this country on that idea, because the human urban housing development authority. What is the department? I think they gave Ben Carver that job just for shits, and then forgot that he worked at the White House for the longest time. Donald Trump was walking around like, "Who did I fire yet, Ben? Ben, you're still here. All right. Well, you'll be my vice president next time."
My wall had a little building. It had a door, and through this door, Trump. Well, I just call him the president. In the movie.
Yeah.
He funneled his drugs because he was in control of Mexican drugs. So
That was the plot of the movie Machete.
I never heard of it.
It was Robert De Niro played the guy that wanted to build the wall.
Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo. Yeah, that was the plot. Yeah.
Oh, I like Danny Trejo.
Yeah, it was a really good movie.
This one has Quetzalcoatl and Cuculcan, who are two Mexican gods who come down and occupy human bodies. And they have
nice.
special powers, So it's nothing like Machete.
No, you're right. You're right, and that sounds like a really good idea for a comic book, even.
Oh, it's totally fun.
Illustrator.
It would be a totally fun superhero movie, but I
Yeah.
couldn't get anywhere with it.
No, Monette, before we actually leave, I know you're working also on Grimm fairy tales. Am I correct?
I am a Grimm.
You're a Grimm.
I am a Grimm. My grandmother was a Grimm. So when I was 5 years old, I says, I'm going to write my own fairy tales. But then I found out that they didn't write them, they compiled them. So then I had to, okay, as I grew up, I started gathering, my own little, it's called Grimm's American Fairy Tales to not
Because there was such a thing as Grimm's British fairy tales.
Well, no, but Grimm's are German.
Oh, they were German.
They're
Okay.
German, yeah.
Oh yeah, they're all European tales that they
Oh,
gather.
European tales. Yeah.
American ones. It's got Indians in it and immigrants from other countries. Anyway, it's American. So yeah, I kind of gathered them from different places, but mostly I wrote them. So I think it's fun. I think it's a fun collection. I put in a lot of Grimm's history in the back from my family who grew up in Grimm's, Wisconsin. There is a place called Grimm's, Wisconsin. And right now I'm going to try and establish whether or not we're related to the Grimm's brothers, which is going to be fun.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be fun. I mean, I don't think we are, Yeah.
Where could people find those books? Are they not?
All of my books, all dozen of them, all 12, can be found at Amazon.com. Now, my 13th one is going to be published by an actual publisher. I had 5 books that were published by publishers, but for one reason or another, I had to bring them out in new editions and do them myself. So the 13th one, Virginia City versus Bonanza, will be out.
Lucky number 13.
Lucky number 13, be out in April. And I have other books that I'm trying to find publishers for, but I've got all 12 at Amazon.
Shopping it out. Shopping it out. I love it.
5 fiction and 7 nonfiction.
You're very easy to find on Amazon too. All you have to do is just type in your name, and then your whole catalog is right there.
The
honestly,
catalog will pop up. I also have a short story and an anthology that pops up too. So, yeah.
Dedicated writing.
Well,
Yeah,
you know what?
I don't like to be bored.
Well, Monette, if you wanted to find any of your favorite Podguyz podcast gear, you can just go to merchbooth.com, go into the podcast category, scroll down to the Podguyz Podcast, click on it, and you'll see all of your favorite hoodies, zip up, t-shirts, long sleeve and short sleeve, socks, panties, all sorts of stuff with the Podguyz Podcast famous black and white microphone on there.
Is that where I am? Podguyz Podcast?
Podguyz Podcast.
Could be.
Is that what this is?
This is what this is.
Oh my God. I should have asked.
That was a great impression of Joe Biden you got there, but
That was great.
where am I? CNN. Oh, 2 N's I see. Whoa.
Come on, I'm leaving for Boston tomorrow. Don't pick on me. I'm busy. I'm going to Harvard. Thank you very much.
The only person I've seen fall up the stairs to the Air Force One.
There was Gerald Ford fell up some stairs too.
What's Air Force One?
The plane that he flies in, Air Force One.
Oh, is that the one Harrison Ford?
Yeah. More famously
He's the
with Harrison
president?
Ford.
I'm a big
Well,
movie-
Harrison
big-
Ford.
We should do this again and just talk movies. That'd be fun.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, Harrison Ford
Okay.
has piloted the Millennium Falcon, Air Force One a couple times. He's pretty good in a pilot seat when he doesn't want to be. He's got that good pilot acting.
He's like John
He
Travolta.
crashed as a pilot. No, I remember
John
that. He had an
Travolta.
accident,
Like John
He
Denver.
crashed. Right? He's a real pilot. And he crashed once.
Harrison
yeah.
Ford.
Yeah,
Harrison
Yeah,
Ford.
I mean, you could. Anybody that
So
crashes.
did John Travolta.
John Travolta.
Yeah, he actually built a runway in front of his house so that he could fly Cessnas in and out of his house.
Travolta?
Travolta, yeah.
What a weirdo.
Yeah. Guys, that ends our lovely endeavor of the Podguyz Podcast. If you were looking for Monette, bebow, Reinhard, of course, just look her up. Look under the name.
The name is so easy, right? I mean,
It is. We're gonna post a link in the comments to her Amazon store and all that nice stuff. And if you like what you hear from her, you're gonna love what she wrote down. She's
If you
full
love
of information.
conspiracy, Mesoamerica, copper, everything.
I'm
Cover
all
everything.
over
Just
the
cover the
place.
whole thing.
I'm
Everything.
all over the place. I don't do genre.
It's the copper genre.
I'm a copper genre. Okay. Thank you guys. Really, thank you so much. I gotta go to bed now.
No, that's perfect. Thank you. Guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you share down below. I'm Tony Kaz.
Kevin Neary.
We always miss the Sparky. I actually talked to him today. He's still alive in the wilderness.
Nice. His right arm is getting
Kevin
large.
and Tony, my jaws hurt. My jaws hurt from laughing. Thank you. They do.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.